Hello, guys. Welcome here to the final episode of the season for Out of Turn 4. Coming up on the show, we are going to recap championship weekend at Phoenix. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my camera here. It's a little low. Yeah, so we are going to recap the championship race at Phoenix. We're going to recap some of the news that happened over the last few days. And then we'll give our final thoughts on the season. So, of course, season in motorsports is done in the United States. We don't count Formula One here, so we'll skip that. But we begin with, do we even want to call this a race? This was a train wreck is more like it, but we're going to start with the Truck Series at Phoenix. Of course, it took 4 overtimes to get the race complete, and Grosjean is the winner in this insane finale at Phoenix that took 4 overtimes, and Ben Rhodes goes on to win his second Craftsman Truck Series championship. But man, the battle between Heim and Hocevar, just complete immaturity. Not just from Hocevar, but from Corey Heim. Saying, oh, I didn't wreck him on purpose. Dude, you threw away your championship wrecking him. I mean, pay him back by all means. I mean, what Hocevar did was wrong. But to basically fence him and end your own day in the process, that's just dumb. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen from both of them. Both of them are in the wrong, and both of them costed themselves a championship. So I can't feel bad. I do feel bad for Grant Enfinger, though. Grant wanted that so bad and almost got there at the end. It was just so close, but he just couldn't get the job done. But, of course, we don't know his future. GMS Racing is shutting down, so you got to wonder, maybe will Spire pick him up? Who knows? We still got a long off season to go. We got 100 days until Daytona, so plenty of time for Grant Enfinger to find a ride. But for Ben Rhodes, second truck championship, this one was disappointing. This race overall, disappointing. Very disappointing. I don't think there was anybody that was a fan of what happened. I know the drivers went online, started bashing. The Cup drivers went online trying to bash the truck drivers. I mean, the race didn't finish till past 1 in the morning. Past 1 in the morning. I passed out myself watching the race, but granted, I work in the morning, so when I have to work at 6 a.m. every day, I'm not going to stay up and watch a race. But man, I woke up and I hear 4 overtimes. YouTubers going on at 2 in the morning, just screaming over it. And oh my gosh, just a horrible race, horrible demonstration. And you gotta wonder, Steve Phelps said that this format is not gimmicky. It's great, completely boosted it. Will they rethink it in the lower levels? And I think they should. They should 100% be rethinking it at the lower levels. They should be maybe doing 3 races instead of 1, which I've vouched for. But I think changes are going to happen. I think they have to, unless you want a repeat of this next year. These truck guys are guys who are just in ARCA, are immature. They're just not mature enough to handle a championship like this. Okay? Because they're playing with dad's money. So I think we need to rethink this, at least at the lower levels. So Cole Custer, he gets his first NASCAR Xfinity Championship, and he's the only champion that won at Phoenix. I'll get into that in a little bit. Congrats to Cole. He had a great year. This is a great redemption year, and again, I sat here and I questioned throughout the season who on earth would get demoted. Only he would get demoted from his Cup team to that team's Xfinity program. And I still stand by those statements that I said. But he drove his ass off. He earned the title, and I won't go to town bashing him because he earned it. Is he ready for Cup again? No. He's just not ready for Cup again. I think he'd be just better suited staying in Xfinity. I think the direction of Stewart Haas right now is promising somewhat. I mean, who knows with this new Ford Mustang coming in. We'll see. But I want to talk the Cup race. This is the one I watched probably the most of. Sorry, I'm just being sure I got no notifications or any new news coming out. But yeah, so Ross Chastain, he goes on to win the race at Phoenix, and Ryan Blaney, yes, that's why I'm wearing this shirt, folks. Ryan Blaney goes on to win his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. Blaney is the first title, or it's his first title and his first attempt at the championship for. And Ross Chastain, the first driver in 10 years to win the final race and not be in the championship. And the first one under this Final Four format to go on and win the race. Man, Ryan Blaney, we need that personality more often. Where he's like, fuck yes, I tried to bump Chastain out of the way. He was blocking me for multiple laps, yada, yada, yada. But we need more of that in the Cup Series. We just do. Ryan Blaney just, congrats to him. Congrats to Ross. Ross probably got the most meaningless win in his entire Cup career, in the least popular of them. And the reason I say that is nobody paid attention to that. Okay, nobody cared that he won the race. Everyone was too focused on Ryan Blaney, and as they should. But let me just say, and actually I think this is what I wanted to pull up. This is courtesy of, oh my gosh, I just followed him, Trey Ryan on Twitter. He, of course, big statistics guy. I didn't ask him to put this together. I just happened to scroll upon it. So give Trey Ryan a follow. He is quite the statistician, but I'll give that plug for him. Or that social media plug there for him. So William Byron, of course, led the season with 6 wins. Byron and Larson most top 5s. Byron most top 10s and top 15s. Buescher most top 20s, most top 25s with Byron. And I looked through all the good stats. Christopher Bell had the most poles. Byron had the best average finish. Byron and Hamlin had the most consecutive top 3s. Those two plus Truex most consecutive top 5s. Kyle Busch most top 10s. Sorry, I'm looking through, just seeing any. Playoff average finish, Byron was the best in that. Most stage points went to Hamlin. Most playoff points and points scored in the playoffs went to Byron. So, to put a little context in this, Blaney didn't do anything. in terms of leading statistics to get to the championship four. Blaney just arrived on the scene in the round of 8 after winning at Talladega, doing okay at the Roval, and he just balled that entire round. He balled that entire round, went to Phoenix, and he hit the setup perfectly. It just shows how this format works, because based on everything I'm reading, William Byron's the champion based on the stats. I don't think the stats lie. I mean, Blaney's the champ, there's no doubt, and I'm not trying to take this away from him, but this is Byron's title. I mean, if you look at overall season and not winner takes all, it's his. So, I mean, the fact that Blaney led none of the positive stats, he didn't lead any negative stats either, but it shows he was average. It shows he was average, but he did well enough at the end. He was there at the right time to go on and win the championship. So, good for him. William Byron also won the Winston Cup Championship, for those who've been following that on Twitter. But just remarkable. Of course, going into kind of the season, I mean, the race, I didn't have much to say about it. It was, to me, though, the more I watch Phoenix as the championship, the more I wish it was Homestead again. I'm sorry, I gotta side with those fans. Just, it was an okay race. Okay. There was nothing, like, drastically special about it. I mean, there were times it was just difficult to pass, and I'm like, once Larson beat Blaney off the pit lane, I'm like, great, we have a repeat of 2021 once again, because no one's going to pass Larson. And I was wrong. But yeah, going into the season recap, I mean, Buescher had a breakout year. That's great to see. Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon proving why they don't deserve their rides. Hamlin, decent year. Corey LaJoie didn't have a DNF. And Corey LaJoie hasn't had a DNF in well over a season. Say what you want about Corey LaJoie, but that's very impressive. So, congrats to him on that. Truex largest driver rating in a race. Hamlin had the best average running position, but again, Hendrick leads the way again, can't seal the deal. And you wonder if it's this format or this car. It just seems like Penske has a grasp on this car at Phoenix. But as far as the season goes, it was interesting. It wasn't as interesting as last year, I don't think. I think it fell a little bit more flat versus last year. But we had some surprise winners. We had the parity still, which was great. Ford showed a little bit more flashes of brilliance. The surprise, of course, Stewart-Haas didn't win a race, and that's disappointing in Harvick's last year. I was really pulling for Harvick to get a win. It just didn't happen. I thought Sunday would have been that day. Just didn't happen, and it's unfortunate. Not the way he wanted to end his career. But overall, I'd say the season gets like a B-. It carried some drama. I think there were some good storylines throughout the year. The broadcasting on both ends could really use some help. I hate to say it about that. I mean, Fox's was atrocious at times. I mean, even more atrocious about Fox. How do you not have your play-by-play crew at Phoenix at the championship. How? I just don't know why you'd keep them at home for that. Again, I get cost cutting, but this is a championship fucking race. You should have your broadcast crew there. So overall, the broadcasters get they get a D minus. The racing itself, I think, gets a B plus or B minus. It got better. Short track racing got a little bit better throughout the end of the season there, or toward the end of the season. Intermediates lived up to the hype. Again, we saw some surprises. I think that's always a positive. But I'll be intrigued to see what happens in the future here. But let's get into the news before we wrap things up here today. Romain Grosjean, he has a new location or a new team. He will be headed to Juncos Hollinger Racing after Callum Ilot's departure last week. Of course, Marshall Pruitt reported on this. It has come to fruition as expected. I don't think there was any surprises. It looks like Grosjean and Ilott have the same managers. So can't say that it's not surprising to see him behind the wheel, and I'm glad to see him get a second chance, or third chance rather. He deserved another shot at this. So glad to see it. I'm looking at the rides though left as far as Callum Ilott goes. It looks like only Foyt and Dale Coyne are the teams left, and I hear not much funding from Callum Ilott, so I don't know what the future is going to hold for him. He might have to sit a year, but I think he'll be back in the sport. I think his impact with Juncos Hollinger Racing was pretty impressive, so I imagine we'll see him back. This one comes as a shocker. I think everybody had Frankie Muniz. Of course, if you don't know him, Saved by the Bell actor, turned race car driver. But I think a lot of people had Frankie Muniz linked to the Truck Series. Well, now he might be linked to the Xfinity Series. Rumors have it that RSS Racing is planning on fielding an entry for Frankie Muniz in 2024. Excuse me, guys. So Frankie Muniz, that would be interesting. Of course, we know Ryan and Kyle Sieg will probably be back, or Ryan Sieg is going to be back. We know. I'm just gonna say it. I'd be shocked if Kyle Sieg isn't back. Of course, Kyle Sieg, the younger brother of Ryan Sieg, I'd have to imagine he will be back. McLaughlin will probably be in a ride next year because I believe SciEps is his sponsor, and SciEps is going to sponsor Sieg the entire year. So I'd imagine somewhere in there we will see McLaughlin driving the car, and then they have fielded a fourth car, but maybe Frankie Muniz drives that fourth car. I don't know. I've been trying to figure out, is it part-time? Is it full-time? There's been no, there's been no elaborations on, no elaborating on it. So, I don't know how to take this. Do I take it like a grain of salt? Do I, take it serious? I just don't know. Something we'll have to follow as we go through the winter, and get us ready for the next season starting in February. So, Muniz did okay in ARCA. I just don't know if the Xfinity is the right jump just yet. And I'm wondering if it's just people trying to get the attention, trying to get the clicks. So we'll see. But with that, we've reached the end of the season. We've reached the end of the final episode of the 2023 season. So, of course, we will be off, man, till February. I believe maybe January 30th will be our first episode back, because I know the Clash is going to be on February 4th. So we'll probably be back for that. We'll be back then for Daytona. I'm thinking again about doing a 24-hour special, but I just don't know much about IMSA, so I'd have to do a lot of research this off season. But nonetheless, we will be back in 2 months, guys. 2.5 months. In the meantime, I hope you will tune in to Sunday Morning Tinkle on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern here on YouTube, and the video is also on Spotify in the audio, of course, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and tune in to No Final Bell tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. That show will still go through the winter, and if you are just going to wait for us to return, I will see you at the end of the winter, or midwinter. Until then, goodbye, everyone.